Well, here we go again. Happy Stampers. This is Kate with Kate's Paper Creations with another card for you today. A couple of days ago, I'm not sure, maybe a couple days, maybe 3 or 4 days, I did a card that that I did with a little trick. If you saw my video where I made a cutout to create a mask that looked like this, that I could put around an edge like that of white and then color in around it and keep the edge white all the way around and not have to create an actual layer. You can catch that video. I'll put the link in below so you can catch the video of how I made this card. So then I had this piece, and usually I just keep these masks and things because then I'll use them again in the future. But I sat here looking at it and go, oh, I've got it. I want to do something with it. So I have a card that I made using that. Now I have to confess, this little bow is from a discontinued set. I have no idea what set it was in. It may have been a paper pumpkin even. I don't know. But I know that this bow has been my favorite bow for a very long time. And it's the only piece of whatever set it was that I kept. And it just kind of sits on my desk here, and I use it a lot because it's just so realistic looking. So I'm truly sorry that I don't have that stamp to tell you where to get it or find it. But I'm sure that you could come up with some other option for the base of your cluster here. This is using the Calming Camellia stamp set. This is a host set that you can get by placing, I believe it's $150 order or more. You can get the host set. So it is found in the very back page of the celebration, January, February 2022 celebration. So catalog. So it's got some really pretty things in it. So that's what we're going to use. And because I made 2 cards, one with blue tones and one with fresh freesia tones. And so I used the blue one to create my sample. And now we're going to use the fresh freesia one to make the card you're going to see today. So it's just on basic white thick 5.5 by 8.5. I didn't score it. I'm just going to fold it and burnish it. And it does have a little bit of an edge on there where I cut it, and I don't like that. So you run the bone folder over it and it makes it disappear. Okay, so that's ready. Now I'm going to attach this to the front of the card, and it's going to have that 1/8 inch border because this is overall size is 4 by 5.25. So it's going to leave an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around like that when we lay it down. Now when I've got fine lines like this to attach, I use my Zig 2-way glue pen. It's just convenient. For me, it works well. It's got a little squeeze on it so you can control how much comes out when, and you press and squeeze and out it comes, and it's what I use because it works so well for me. They call it a 2-way pen because if you let it dry, it can become a temporary adhesive. We're not going to let it dry before we attach it. We're going to go ahead and attach it, and then it will be permanent. Now let's get my pieces lined up here. A little tricky there. I think that's looking pretty good. Kind of trying to hold things up until it's in place. There we go. So there's my border, all set to go. Now I thought about, like this one, it had the Misty Moonlight border, and so I stamped the flower with Misty Moonlight. And then I added the fresh freesia accents. The bow and this fill in here and this happy birthday are fresh freesia. and it just tied it all together and kept it from being totally monochromatic. Now I could do that on this one. I could stamp the flower with fresh freesia and then add navy accents. So I'm going to give it a try. I haven't tested it. I don't know how it's going to come out. We're just going to take our chances right here on this video, and you get to watch me take my risks. Now, this stamp for me seems to be a hard stamp to ink really well, but I'm going to do my best. I typically like to use the Stamparatus with this, but I wasn't prepared to do that. So I'm going to just got ink on the edge here. I'm going to clean that off so that when I press really hard to get it to ink well on the card, I don't end up with edges. Just take a second. I'm sure you've done this with your stamps before. There's still a little bit there. There we go, and there's some right around the stem here. We'll get that cleaned off. That looks pretty good. Okay, now I can put it on here, and I'll do it in this direction. So I'm staying with the blue. Let's hope we got a good coverage. Ah, excellent. Look at that. And then we'll still do the fresh freesia. And for the bow, it's one of the older stamps because it doesn't have the real sticky, and it's a distinctive stamp too. That's why it looks so awesome, I suppose. And we're just going to stamp that with fresh freesia and cut it out. My scraps out of the way. It's really easy to cut out, and when I cut out this particular one, I don't leave white edges. I just cut really close to the stamped image itself. Yeah, I'm staying on the screen. I have to look up every once in a while, make sure I'm not wandering off the page, so to speak. And I get quiet when I'm cutting, don't I? You've probably noticed that when I've done videos in the past. I do appreciate you supporting me. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. I'm getting close to about 500 subscribers. Some of you are demonstrators already. Some just like Stampin' Up stuff and have found me. If you don't have a demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. You can get a hold of me and I'll help you get signed up. And there's our bow. And then for the flowers, what I did is I just used a blender pen. And because with the blender pen, I can control the coloring. And I wanted it to stay really light. And you have to be a little bit careful because this is a water-based ink and it'll start to smear if you mess with it too much. So you've got to kind of be ready to go and not spend too much time. Just stay really light, move quickly. There'll be some blurring, but it won't be enough to cause any issues. And light is kind of what you're looking for. You want it to be light, and you don't have to get every little single nook and cranny. But I do think it looks so cool. And this will kind of tie in the border piece because it's got the fresh freesia there. I should have probably tried to do it just the opposite and done fresh freesia flower with the blue accents, but I didn't do it. Might have to look and see what that's going to look like. We might have to just do one on the side just to see what it's going to look like. Sometimes your blender brush might start to get a little bit of blue on it. Just rub it off. It's not gonna hurt anything. There it is. There's those colors. I think it looks lovely. You could get carried away even and bring in a blender pen and some green for the leaves. That might be kind of fun. We could play with that a little bit. Let's close these up before I get ink somewhere I don't want it. Put that away. And let's see, if I were going to bring in a green, I'd probably bring in, I'm trying to stay with somewhat kind of muted tones, so I think I'd bring in the soft succulent. Let's play, right? I mean, that's what you're here for, is to try new things and get excited about something new and different to do with your stamps. So let's do that. Oh, I think that's going to be perfect. Nice soft tone, yet just a hint of color. And you can see I'm just kind of highlighting the lighter spots. Oh, I like that. That looks really, really nice. That's a leaf there. Well, that was kind of fun. I'm kind of glad I did that. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so that was the soft succulent. This pink was the fresh freesia. And I'll clean up my blender pen. Just kind of rub it on its side. I kind of turn it as I go, and when it starts coming up clear, it's ready to put away for the next time. Okay, so there's that. And then the bow I attached with a couple of dimensionals. Let me get a couple of those. And it's the only dimensional part of the whole card. It's just the bow. It's kind of almost like the accent of the card, but it's that finishing touch, so to speak. And you can put it on straight or you can put it on in an angle. I'll put it on an angle here. So there you go. Look at that. Oh, I think they're beautiful. I hope you enjoyed them. Oh, we got to put up the sentiment yet. Oh, I don't want to forget that. I'm going to stamp the sentiment. I'm going to stick with the theme. Stamp the sentiment with fresh freesia. Stick with what we're doing here. Let me get that. Sentiment came from the same Calm and Camellia stamp set. And there it is. I had an edge. So there it is. I think they're beautiful. I hope you do too. Hope you enjoyed this quick and short video where I just used up some scraps from the previous video. And I'll put the link to that one below so you can see that. And there we are. Thanks so much for stopping by.